Good morning and welcome back to the Personalized Learning Agendas with you. This is video number 2 of the Personalized Learning Agenda series. We'll return to discuss more about what personalized agenda amounts to actually after a couple of weeks passed. For hundreds of years, philosophers have asked various questions related to education. What does it mean to educate? What does it mean to teach? What does it mean to learn? These are all perennial questions to ponder. Those questions are never straightforward, and they do not have straightforward and simplified answers. Why? Well, certainly because we live in a shaky ground where change is a perpetual law. There is nothing perpetual but change itself. Education, teaching, and learning remain to change from time to time. Is learning a matter of habit formation, just like behaviorists told us? Back to the 1920s to 1940s, behaviorists conducted a variety of research confirming that learning is a matter of habit formation. From the history of learning theories, we knew at least two big guys, Skinner and Pavlov. They believed that learning is a matter of change in behavior. How did they teach us in terms of language learning? Fast forward to the 1990s, for example, I can tell you that even the same procedure of learning remained to take place in my classes. It is the procedure of habit formation. If you are as old as me, then I believe you have some kinds of similar experiences related to the behaviorist learning in the class. And this is one instructional strategy that worked very well in the past. In my recollection, lecture played a role as a captain in a military regiment. The teaching would be a disciplined one, and the class would require disciplined ways of learning. A regular grammar class would sound like this. We will continue our learning today, and let's open page 155 from the book of Robert Crunn. Today we arrive at practice exercise 11. As usual, I will read aloud every single stem, and each student will get to the turn to respond to me. Exercise 11. Instruction. Make a corresponding questions with whose. Another student with a short answer. For example, John's father sees Paul. Student A will respond, whose father sees Paul? And student B will reply, John's. Example number 2. Paul sees Mary's father. Student B will respond, whose father does Paul see? Student C will reply, Mary's. As you can expect that grammar learning will become so tedious. Grammar learning becomes very tense, and all students must pay attention to every single sentence. In this kind of class, making a mistake will be an embarrassing experience. For competitive students, this will be a very good moment for them to show who they are. But for some introverted students, this kind of learning has become a real challenge and unhappy moments in the class. Will you imagine learning in the same class in such a strict and regimented way? Well, to tell you the truth, I was very good at that way of learning. I was a competitive student and I wouldn't surrender easily. I had a very strong motivation to perform in the class, mostly because I was really aware of my own family background. I'm the baby of the family and the only one who had the privilege to attend college. I knew very well that none of my siblings attended college because of financial reasons. I didn't want to make them unhappy. I didn't want to make their sacrifices meaningless. In summary, with a strong motivation to perform very well in the class, I was ready to do more in comparison to other students. So in my undergraduate years, I always attempted to embrace any kinds of learning experiences. Recalling my past years in my undergraduate time, I was very creative. I remember reading the assignment from book reports class. In the fourth semester, we were required to read unabridged novels. These novels are original for English readership. They are very difficult at that time for me and for most of us. Many of my friends prefer to get shortcuts, namely to find out summaries. So instead of reading the original novels, they prefer to find out the short versions of them. Let's call it cheating. What about me? Never. I would spend my time under huge trees in Pringwolong reading aloud the books. And this is the example of Tale of Two Cities. I will read out loud like this. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the springs of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct to the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparisons only. I will read out aloud, over and over again for hours and hours. But I was wondering now, how on earth did I take that way? That's a question that I cannot answer even now. Well, certainly I'm a survivor. Even I found ways to perform better and better. I sought to find better ways to learn, such as through memorizing vocabulary items. However, what I found to have an everlasting impact on me was my strategy to generate questions. I keep learning how to make my own learning more effective from time to time. Even before I got to know what metacognitive learning is all about, I have started to apply it for my own learning. Say, for example, from this short reading, I'll spend some time developing questions. Let's take the first sentence. Germans have started wearing face masks outside the home as new rules come into force to curb the spread of coronavirus. From this sentence, I may develop 5 to 6 questions. Not only generating questions, of course, I also make the answers for each individual question. For example, my first question is, who have started wearing face masks outside the home? Answer, Germans have. Second question, what have Germans started doing? Answer, they started wearing face masks. Third question, what have Germans started to wear outside the home? Answer, face masks. Fourth question, what come into force to curb the spread of the coronavirus? Answer, new rules. Fifth question. What are new rules intended for? Answer: to curb the spread of coronavirus. I found generating questions a powerful way for me to monitor my understanding. It is through questioning my own comprehension that I eventually become more skillful at my own learning. In summary, I know very well who I am. I'm a very motivated person, and I know what I really want to achieve. When problems come, I always find ways to solve them. I'm not easily disheartened by difficulties, and I'm aware fully that most students are not similar to me. Many students come to class with a very poor motivation to learn. They are in class because their parents want them to do so. Many have weak motivations to learn and to perform in class. The question worth posing is, how can we stimulate our students to learn? This is certainly not an easy answer. It's not an easy question to answer. I would assume that learning is a complicated enterprise because it is related very much to who we are as human beings. It is true that learning is related to technicalities. From the behaviorist perspective, habit formation in the forms of pattern drills does play a role, at least in my past learning. And I've learned a lot from such a technique. But my life experiences also taught me that learning is much more complicated. One particular technique may work well for some students, but it may disadvantage others. At this moment, I want to share your best moments in your own learning histories. You'll make your narratives about what made you feel successful. Because in this class, in Teaching English as a Lingua Franca, you will be asked who you are. Because we draw from Parker Palmer that good teaching cannot be reduced to technique. Good teaching comes from the identity and integrity of the teacher. I have shared my own experiences. I've shared my own life stories. Now it's your turn. You are going to share your own learning struggles and also the solution that you have developed. What values have you made in your learning? What strategies did you manage to create and apply for your own learning? This is the end of the video, and thanks for watching. Stay home, stay safe, and stay happy. Thank you.